Hey everyone, this is Scott from Forgot to Grow Up. Welcome to our Star Trek Picard Season 1 Episode 10 Thoughts video. Just finished watching the season finale of Star Trek Picard, and I'm just going to be sharing my general thoughts on the episode. I will be getting into spoilers for this episode because so much happens. So yes, this was the second part in the two-part season finale, and I really enjoyed this episode because it felt just so Star Trek to me, the way that this one focused a lot on let's resolve this problem by talking instead of trying to get a bigger laser than the other person or big star destroyer or something like that. So I really enjoyed this episode. Felt like the season finale felt very much like a Star Trek episode. It felt like kind of almost, I don't say quite like a throwback to, but to like the original series with the the original series and Next Generation, but more so, I mean, like the theme of them, not being going in guns a-blazing kind of stories. It's more about let's try to work this through. Let's have a little diplomacy, and particularly with Picard, I like that, especially older Picard. It's a little less realistic if we were to see him trying to run around being kind of a Luke Skywalker, Han Solo type, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I really enjoyed that this episode really, to me, felt like, even though it did have some of these couple little action scenes, but nothing too, it wasn't what the whole episode was centered around. It wasn't centered around a whole, we're going to have a big space battle. It was about trying to prevent a big space battle. So I really enjoyed that. It felt like very much to me like a Star Trek kind of theme and a Star Trek kind of solution to this problem. So I really enjoyed that this episode does focus around that kind of idea of like, let's not just try to blow everybody up. Let's all try to live together in harmony, which is a pretty big theme of Star Trek in general. But yeah, so I really enjoyed this episode, kind of starting off with Picard kind of being, being prisoner of the synthetics, and he's a prisoner, and they're building the beacon to call the higher life form AI, and everyone's trying to, everyone's got their own agenda in this. Norik goes and asks Rafi and Rios for help, and they end up joining because they're like, yeah, we can't let the AI apocalypse happen. So they team up and they have a little action scene, and I like that they hide the bomb in a soccer ball. That was kind of fun. And then they try to blow up the beacon and fail pretty quickly. Like, I blinked for like a second, and I swear I missed the whole scene. But it was still, interesting to kind of see. Like I said, that's kind of the type of action we got more so, which wasn't, this big, like I said, other sci-fis you get, even other Star Treks we've gotten, Discovery, you'll see that there's a lot more focus sometimes on the action. And so this one, I like that it was we're spending 10 minutes then, attacking the beacon. It was more about trying to convince Soji that she should shut it down as opposed to trying to stop it with an explosion, even though that was the plan. But yeah, so I really enjoyed that. We also, I like that they end up teaming up, but also I completely missed what happened to Norik after that. Like, I know his plan failed, and I just completely lost track of him after that. I was like, wait, did somebody kill him? Did he get put prisoner? How did I miss so much in like a second? Like, I swear. I was watching the whole time, I swear. But yeah, so speaking of action, another fun action bit from this one was we got to see actually Norik's sister, which I finally learned her name, which is Narissa, I think. I don't even know if I'm saying it right, but we see her and 7 and 9 fight in the Borg cube, which was a fun little fight, and then seeing 7 kick her off the Spartan kicker into the off the edge of the cube. That was fun. It was a cool little action scene. So like, those are the types of action scenes I like to see, like a little short, sweet, but then not dependent on the whole story. Meaning like 7 kicking her, 7 in her fight wasn't that big of a deal. It's not like integral to the whole episode's plot, so I like that it was just kind of a little thing, and then there we go. So yeah, some of the other stuff I liked about this, we see Picard has to go we see Picard take a lone ship against the entire Romulan fleet, which is just hundreds of ships, and it's just him by himself, and the plan is to use holograms to stop them. And I'm like, you go, Picard. I love it. Go. You do it, man. Do it. Try. And so, because it's not even as much like his idea is, buying time for hopefully Starfleet to eventually show up, and also to kind of show Soji and the synthetics that, not all humans are like the ones that they aren't, or not all, not all biological life forms are like the Romulans and want to destroy all synthetic life. So I did like that, he has this kind of heroic moment. He's prepared to sacrifice himself in order to kind of show Soji, that they're worth it. That humans are worth it. Don't go calling the higher up aliens to come. Apparently, I guess worm us, because we did see a little bit. We saw the beacon does get activated. It opens like this. It looks like almost like a black hole or a wormhole, and we see some worms crawl out of it. Some mechanical worms that were going chin chin chin. They look almost like mechanical eels, and I was like, oh, that's what the higher life forms are like riding in, is some. Okay, I'm not arguing with that. I guess octopuses are really intelligent, so if they're more like a tentacle than a worm thing, then I guess that makes sense. It was just a very brief little, I don't know. But this was interesting to kind of see the synths or the higher life, a very brief glimpse of the the higher life forms. I'm curious now if they're like, hey, let's make a wormhole kind of effect with the beacon, and they're like, oh, we need to come up with what's going to look like for the them to come the higher form AI, what their form would be, that they would come at their mechanical form, and so I guess they kind of were like, well, wormhole, we'll go with that. Maybe there's more to it. I just thought that was it did throw me off just a little bit, because I wasn't expecting like tentacles almost. Like I said, because they're mechanical, I was like, I don't know if these are supposed to be like kind of tentacles, or if they're like mechanical worms or mechanical what. They're just mechanical long things that were just kind of gangling out of the wormhole, the black hole thing that the beacon caused. So I don't really remember what my point of all that was, except that it was an interesting choice that they went with. I guess I'll go with that. So yeah, they activated the beacon, but then Picard gives one of his famous Picard speeches. He tried it last episode. It didn't work. It got shot down. But this time, after, giving the whole show of being like, hey, I'm willing to sacrifice myself. Oh, and Starfleet did show up. I forgot about that part. That's the other part that helps reinforce his speech, is that Starfleet shows up and is like, hey, Romulans, no, go home. And the best part about that is Starfleet's led none other than by Riker, and as soon as he showed up, I'm like, how did I not see this coming? That you were calling Starfleet, and I didn't even think about the fact that Riker would obviously be the one we'd probably get to lead it, or one of our Next Generation, or even Voyager, one of our other Star Trek alum. But the fact that it was Riker was very suiting, obviously, for the situation, especially the conversation they had. Is like, well, just because I wasn't going to talk you out of it, wasn't mean wasn't going to have your back. And I'm like, that's right, Riker. That's a first mate. That's a number one for you. So I really love that moment between Riker. Well, Riker just showing up and being a badass, being like, hey, we got a bunch of ships. They're all upgrades. We're going to kill you guys if you don't piss off. And so I really just liked him showing up, just being a badass. We got to see a brief little glimpse of this new ship design, what appears to be a new Starfleet ship design. I'm not that big an expert on I'm not an expert at all on Star Trek, or Starfleet ships, but it did look like a new one. He even said that they're all upgraded with new shields and warps, whatever. But it was still cool to get a little glimpse. It would have been nice to have a little bit of a closer view so I could actually see it, but there was a lot of them, so that was cool too. But yeah, I just really liked seeing Riker show up with Starfleet and pretty much putting an end to the situation. Well, partially putting an end to the situation, because they show up, Romulan's like, we don't care, we're still gonna we'll attack you, then we'll attack the synths, and then Picard gives his speech, a famous Picard speech, and like I said, it didn't work in the last episode, but it worked this time after having a little bit more, them having fought because the Romulans would have wiped out the synthetics before they had a chance to set off the beacon if it wasn't for Picard. So you throw that little thing, and then Starfleet shows up, and you got the motivation of like, well, Starfleet could be attacking you. Well, they're not. They're stopping the Romulans from attacking. So can you flick off the beacon, please? And so they Soji, after hearing the speech from Picard, destroys the beacon. The higher form AI, gets sucked back into the wormhole or the wormhole that the beacon opened, and all is good. The Romulans are like, fine, we'll leave then. And Riker's like, we'll escort you out. We'll walk you to the door. And they're like, that's not necessary. He's like, oh, we will. Don't worry. We don't mind. We'll walk you to the door. And so that was just a kind of fun little way to end off the season. I love that. I love like just seeing Riker just being a badass and being awesome. Riker's just one of my favorites. So yeah, that was really fun. But yeah, and then while all this is happening, put a big strain on Picard, which I think we all should have kind of saw coming throughout this whole season. They were setting it up this whole season with, bringing up the anomaly he has in his brain, and how that was pretty much a ticking time bomb. We were told about it multiple times throughout this series, and so I was waiting for something to happen with that, and then we get to this final thing. He gives this speech and all that, and it takes it out of him, and the abnormality's finally taken over, and we're like, oh, we're only gonna get one season of Picard? Just okay. I like that you guys managed to trick me into this. I forgot about the illness, or that they might kill him off because of it, and so I was like, okay, this is a surprise. Sir Patrick Stewart, you told me there was going to be a second season. So when he dies, I was just like, what are you guys doing? And I had this in my back of my mind. I swear, I wrote this down, which was, there's a synthetic body kicking around. They had Agnes hanging around hanging around, trying to program some empty body so that they could sing songs, head into it. And so I was like, as soon as he starts to die, I'm like, is he gonna have a synthetic body? And then they drew it out a little bit, and I'm like, maybe not. Is he? Maybe not. Is he? And then we see him pop up in the simulation or a dream with Data, and I was like, yeah, they went there. And Data explains that, his consciousness was kind of reconstructed using B4, and that it goes in this quantum simulation is where he's kind of existing, and that they were able to upload Picard's mind to that, in a sense, or copy his mind to that in order to copy him over to the golem, I believe they referred to it as, which was the empty synthetic body, is the way I kind of refer to it. And so as much as I kind of a little saw it coming with the setting up of, like, I thought about this a little bit last episode, because you could have just had Dr. Synth already kind of accomplished the fact of being able to put himself into it. Introducing that just introduces this idea of, like, okay, someone else is going into that body, and I'm very happy that we stuck Picard into this body. Picard, obviously, spoiler alert for those who haven't. I don't know if how you made it this far without that, but yes, he's back. He's in a synthetic body, and I was like, okay, yeah, we did this, and I'm fine with it. I'm completely fine with it. It does seem a little like, just a kind of step to get around that anomaly, or the anomaly in his brain, but it was also mainly a really nice way for him and Data's kind of relationship to kind of come to an end, because Data asks that Picard, once he's out of the into his new body, that he ends Data's simulation, so that Data effectively is officially finally dead, and so that's what we end up seeing. And so it's just really just this really kind of, I don't want to say a little emotional. I won't say I got too much. I was most emotional when I was like, did they actually kill him? Did he actually die? Are we going to leave it at this? And then as we got towards the, okay, thank you for this relief of, oh yeah, he gets to talk to Data in a simulation, and then he gets to come back in a brand new body, which I really like that they addressed the fact that he gets a new body, but it's got to still be, Sir Patrick Stewart's body, because he's been used to that body for so long. You wouldn't want to give him a new, hip, young 20-year-old equivalent body or something like that. So it was kind of funny that they went to the lengths of being like, oh no, you're exactly the same, just synthetic. We even put in some programming that is gonna, program death into you pretty much. It's gonna do a little calculation to decide how long you would have lived if you hadn't had the brain anomaly, and then it'll kill you. because you're synthetic. And so I thought that was a little fun thing that they really had to make sure they stuck that in there, that they're like, okay, don't, yes, he is a synthetic, but he's got an expiration date, and he doesn't have superpowers. They said that. They literally say you don't have superpowers. And so I just thought it was kind of funny that not only did we get to see him have a new body, but we went through the fact that, like, no, these are the limitations. You're exactly the same. You just don't have a brain aneurysm anymore, and you're fresh. You're a fresh 94-year-old. So yeah, that was just a really fun kind of way to end this season. We then see, the whole crew, everyone's joined. 7 and 9's on the ship now, and Agnes apparently has been just completely forgiven. Like 2 episodes ago, she was gonna sacrifice her, or not sacrifice her, turn herself in to the Federation for killing, what's his name, Maddox. And then by this episode, they're like, nah, she's part of the crew now. She's cool. Her and Rios are back together, or well, not back together. They're just, I guess, more exploring their thing. So yeah, that was just kind of that was the one thing that kind of threw me off a little bit. I know she's the one who let Picard out, but I'm like, when did we go from she was, ready to turn herself into Starfleet to she's just part of the team. It's okay that she killed somebody. We've all killed somebody. Like, I don't have a problem with the fact that she killed somebody. She had a big problem with it, and everybody else did. And I'm like, I feel like you've all killed somebody at some point. Like, I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. But I thought they were all being a little like, but at the same time, they completely forgot about that, it seems. Or I missed something. Maybe I missed something where they're like, yeah, we forgive you now. But I thought that was interesting. But yeah, I liked kind of ending this season off with this kind of open-ended ending of, yeah, he's just on the ship, and Picard's on the ship with, the rest of the crew, and he's gathered up in his own little crew with, 7 seems to have joined. Eleanor is back, and so he's got a whole crew ready, and Soji also joins. I was trying to remember who the other person who joined was. And Soji also joins the ship's crew, and that seems to be the crew we're going to be going into next season, if we get next season. I'm assuming we are, at least. But that's the great thing I did enjoy about the way this one ends, is that it ends in a way that it's like, if we don't get a second season or any more seasons, I won't be that disappointed. I'd be disappointed in that I want more because I like Picard, but I wouldn't be disappointed because this first season has a nice, full arc. We got a full end of the story, and we didn't get this, a cliffhanger ending that I'm like, I need to know what the synthetic worms look like, So I'm glad that we didn't get a cliffhanger ending, that we got instead this, open-ended one where if, we didn't get another season, I can just kind of imagine he kept going on more of these types of adventures. Or if we do get another season, we can easily hop into one of those adventures, or into a few months into the future where he finds his next adventure. So yeah, I really, really enjoyed this season finale, and just the whole season overall. I just really enjoyed. It did have a few parts where it was a little slow, but that was more me adjusting back to not a slower pace, but a slower pace of a show versus, things like Marvel and Star Wars and all those other things. So I really enjoyed the season. I really enjoyed kind of seeing Picard's arc through this season, and just, overall I really enjoyed it. All the new characters we got, all the returning characters that we got to spend some time with, even though I would have liked to spend some more time with certain characters, some of them, or other things, or had other ones come back. Like, where was Captain Janeway? But that's just because I'm a little bit of a Voyager stan. But anyways, that's not the point. The point is, that's pretty much all my thoughts on Star Trek Picard and the season finale of Star Trek Picard. Be sure to let me know in the comments below what you thought of the season finale and what you thought overall of the whole first season. Are you excited for a second season? Do you want to see it? Be sure to let me know in the comments below. Thanks again for joining me today. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and have a good one.